always part of a successful pitch. Number one, you have to be able to articulate the opportunity in 90 seconds or less. Hi, I'm from Aston, Massachusetts. I make cupcakes. I put them in a mason jar. I FedEx them to you. It turns out, if you want to lead someone somewhere, they have to know where you're going or they will not follow. It's a simple element of leadership, and it turns out to be immensely important when it comes to investing. But to me, I don't care if you're a teacher, a preacher, a general, an entrepreneur, a manager in a business, if you can't articulate where you're going, no one will follow you. Number two, it takes longer than 15 or 20 or 90 seconds. You have to be able to explain why you are the right person, the right manager, the right entrepreneur to take a great idea and execute on the business plan. After all, a great idea without executional skills is worthless, completely worthless. What is it about you that makes this a great opportunity? Did you spend time in it before as an apprentice in somebody else's business? Is it in your family? Have you tried 3 times before and failed? And now you know what you did wrong. When you get a great idea attached to a wonderful entrepreneur that looks like they have executional skills, that's when the room starts to sizzle like an isotope. Investors always want to follow the path of least resistance, and you need both to get there. But there's one more, and this one is the killer. Somehow you find yourself under the lights in front of billions of dollars of investment potential. You've convinced them you have a great idea. You've convinced them that you're the right entrepreneur to execute it, and then this happens. You have to know your numbers. If you get that far and you don't know your numbers, you deserve to burn in hell in perpetuity, and I will put you there myself. These are the 3 attributes of leadership that will serve you well today, tomorrow, and in 1,000 years, they'll be the same. But there's more, and this is the data I want to share with you that I think is going to be applicable to every business in this room. This is a huge sector of the economy. It touches so many different aspects. And yet, in some ways, everybody in here is an entrepreneur trying to grow a business in a very competitive environment. It turns out, after a decade of investing in over 34 companies, almost 100% of my returns have come from the companies run by women. Now, why is that? Why is that? I am not trying to start gender warfare. I would give money to a goat if I could get a return. But I want to know what is happening in those businesses so we can share these best practices. And so what we did is we did some research. We went back 7 years and looked at these companies to try and glean the data. And this February, I took every CEO from my portfolio, brought them to the Betsy Hotel in South Beach on Collins Avenue, and for 3 days, we shared the data I'm going to share with you now. This is not some academic research. This is the real deal, real companies. Average size of employees, 26, smallest 5 million in sales, largest $500 million. Turns out there's some really interesting data here. Number 1, that old adage, if you want something done, give it to a busy mother. Time management skills ends up being a very big deal in a small business. 26 people, generally everybody's doing everything, so you have to set how you're going to spend your time and how each person's goals are going to be set and how they spend their time. This mattered a lot, but I don't think it's the secret sauce. It's this number 2 that I thought really knocked the socks off me and changed how we do business in all of our private companies today. We went back and looked at every quarter, over 7 years, of every company's estimates for sales and the results. In the case of the companies run by men, they hit their targets 65% of the time. Nothing wrong with that. They had very lofty goals and they met them 65% of the time. I thought, well, that's okay. Then we looked at the ones run by women. They hit their goals 95% of the time. But what they had done is they brought down the targets so that they were very managed to be successful. I thought, well, why would that manifest itself in a difference of stability or free cash flow? Why would that interpret itself into higher IRR? What's going on there? Here's the secret sauce. It's very simple. When you build a team and you consistently hit your goals, let's take an analogy of baseball or basketball or football, and you consistently win, Nobody wants to leave. The culture gets very sticky. And there's no disruption in business services whatsoever because it's the same team day in, day out. When you're not hitting your goals, people start to ask themselves, why? Am I not on a winning team? Why do we keep missing? And there's a tremendous amount of staff turnover. I thought, this is brilliant. It's amazing. And in a private company, why would you fool yourself by setting goals you can't achieve anyways? Who are you fooling? Only you. We immediately in February took down all the estimates that weren't going to be achieved for all of the companies and said, let's set targets for our companies that we can meet. And already our cash flows are up almost 11% because there's been less turnover in just these few months. Absolutely phenomenal data, something for you to think about. But there's more. If you think about customers and you think about who you have to listen to, I thought Reggie did a great job talking about how you have to listen to your customers. There's three constituencies that matter in every business in this room. The customer, obviously, you have to listen to the customer. You don't have a business if you're not listening to the customer. Number two, you have to listen to your employees. Why? Because they know where the problems are long before you do. They're in the trenches every day. And thirdly, you have to listen to your investor or the bank that funds you. Why do you have to do this? Because I learned something very important long ago. The greatest attribute of an entrepreneur is that they have a myopic vision of where they're going and nothing can knock them off the tracks. They have a vision of success and they're willing to work in the first couple of years of that business 25 hours a day to get there. And yet, as soon as they get success and revenue, it becomes their worst nightmare and their biggest weakness because they don't listen. And if they don't listen, their ear is not to the track, they don't hear the train ripping down the track coming at them that runs them over because the market has changed. Great entrepreneurs are able to assimilate data and pivot. And lastly, and this is the one that I think applies to your industry more than any other, let's go back to the cupcake example. When all those people saw that cupcake on television and decided to make a purchase decision, they had a certain expectation about what would happen. They saw the sharks eating it, and they thought everybody thought it looked good. When they received their cupcake, in most cases, their assumptions were met. Their expectations were met. It did taste good. And the next time there was a holiday, they bought the cupcake a second time. And when they tried it again, it was exactly like the first time. And their expectations were met. Then they buy it again. What is happening there? Something very important. When you have a product or service in an industry, and people have an expectation about what that's going to be when they try it or use it, and it's consistent every time they use it, you are building a brand far more valuable than your person. It becomes an assimilation of the service or product with the company, and it's immensely valuable. That's the good news. Here's the bad news. 25 years ago, 50 years ago when this organization was started, if somebody had a bad travel experience on an airline or whatever service, a car rental, a limo, the only thing they could do was call customer service and ask for a refund or modify their experience in some way or another. Not today. When a customer has a bad experience in any business or service or product, they go online and they go nuts. And the amount of damage they can do to your brand is immense. In this industry, who can forget just last year, a man being hauled off an aircraft by local security guards? Can you imagine the damage that did to that brand? Or the complaints of a woman who lost her pet in storage? Horrific. It's horrific, but it's surmountable. Here's how. And this applies to everybody in this room. What we've done in our group of companies is I have an alert for every product and service and every CEO that works for me. The minute I see an alert, I know it's not good news. We go to work to figure out what happened and what can we do to fix it. And why we do that is, and I'll share this data with you, we've done a lot of research on this. 80% of the time you cannot fix the problem and you may lose that customer. But what matters more than that is you've built an audit trail, a digital audit trail of the experience that's occurring as you're trying to fix it. that remains online forever. And that is your company trying to solve a problem for another. And people and customers are not stupid. They see you trying to fix it, and they do everything they can. Think about the hotel businesses that get rated every day. Do you know that up to 30% of the bad ratings are not customers at all, they're competitors? That's the nasty part of online businesses, and you have to have a way to immediately respond to that. We have learned that brand should be treated as if it's your life, because it is. And I think in this industry that has had such transition and growth as a result of the efficiency and productivity of online platforms, this is probably the biggest challenge for the next 50 years. Trying to make sure that you remain transparent, efficient, and productive, and making sure that people always know you care very much about their experience. Now, here I am in the hotbed of the travel industry. I did my own research. GBTA, and I understand this, does billions of dollars transaction with this convention every year. So I got me thinking, why wouldn't I want a piece of this action? I'm sorry, it's in my nature, I'm a shark. And what better opportunity for me to get there right now in the company of all of you to consider an investment in the travel space? Why not? So if it's okay with all of you, I'm going to ask Mike McCormick to come up on stage and help me out with this. Mike? Come on. Thanks, Kevin.
Well, Kevin, do you want to see a few deals? What do you think?
Mike, what do you think? Can you show me some of the best business travel deals on earth today, right here?
Let me think about this a little bit. You know,